to another episode of Powerful Marketing Tips podcast. I'm excited to have you with us today, and our topic is seeing beyond the metrics, the lesser known ways of measuring business growth and success. So this is essential for any business owner or marketer looking to work smarter, not harder in marketing, which is something we emphasize at Powerful Marketers. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hi, it's Marilise
and Laura.
We created this podcast for you, a business owner and a marketer who wants to be connected, supported, and inspired.
Because no one wins alone. Thanks for being here, and let's get started.
So we have a fantastic guest joining us today, Aditya Varanasi, who spent 14 years at PepsiCo, where he pioneered new ways to unlock the power of digital media. And I know he worked great brands like Cheetos, Cracker Jack, and Lay's Stax. So welcome, Aditya, to our podcast.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on today.
That is so great. To start, could you share a bit about your own journey with our listeners? Because I'd really like to know, how did you did this transition, from a successful career in corporate America to founding your own business?
Yeah, and I think the theme of the story is I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for a very long time, and was fortunate to kind of land in a situation where I'm really happy and really enjoying what I'm doing. But it starts, as in college, where I wanted to study medicine. And I was a chemistry major, and I thought, hey, if I don't want to go to medical school, what's my backup? So I added chemical engineering as my major. I switched to chemical engineering with a pre-medicine minor, and graduated and ended up working at Frito-Lay in the new product development group. And so I obviously didn't pursue medicine, went into engineering, and that's where I first got exposed to marketing. So I was working on new products like Tostitos Scoops and Lay's Stax, and a lot of fun new products that were being launched. And I got to work very closely with the marketing team as we would go see how consumers had feedback on the products, what their needs were, how they were reacting to different experiences. And I became really fascinated with marketing through that experience. I think what fascinated me is at Frito-Lay was the intersection of consumer psychology, financial considerations, competitive considerations, business strategic considerations, capital utilization. There were so many things that converge, and it attracted me because there wasn't a single right answer. And so I pursued my master's in business administration, specialized in marketing, and then went back to Frito-Lay in the brand marketing group and worked on some of the brands that you'd mentioned. But I think one of the things that I was a little bit different is there aren't a lot of engineers that end up in brand marketing. And so I was always trying to deconstruct what are the things that drive effectiveness, looking at it a little bit like an engineer, but knowing what I knew about marketing. How do you really delight customers and be systematic about it? And so one of the big experiences was we ran some advanced modeling on all the different activities we were running in the marketing group. So we ran a model, and we could see how much lift did we get when we discounted the product? How much lift did we get when we ran TV? How much lift did we get when we had merchandising? How much lift did we get when we launched new products? How much did it hurt us when competitors had other activity, pricing, media, new products, and put all of it into a model and can see how much impact each individual activity contributed to the brand's growth or decline. And it looked really clean, but something didn't sit right with me. And so I had them rerun the model, but look at how the variables interacted together. So for example, what we saw is when you have TV advertising running at the same time as in-store merchandising, at the same time as pricing, we actually saw a lift higher than the individual activities themselves. And that goes back to the very simple adage in marketing where they say people need to see you an average of 7 times before they take action. And to me, it reinforced the importance of that full customer journey. So you might see something on TV, you're subconsciously thinking about it. You're subconsciously thinking about something you enjoy. You don't. It's not rational. It's not verbatim, but you're thinking, "Wow, I really enjoy that experience." Then you see it in store, and when it's top of mind, you're more likely to notice it. Then when it's on sale, you're like, "I'm ready to pick it up." And so that's really the science of advertising and marketing. And at the end of the day, if you have a product that somehow brings people delight in some shape or form, marketing will always help you grow. And so with that experience, I left and I was hired by a private equity backed startup. And I thought, I want to apply all these great learnings from PepsiCo onto this small business so that we can grow it and use the best practices from PepsiCo. But I was astonished that the things that I wanted to do at the different stages of the customer journey, primarily on the awareness side, simply didn't exist. Everything was too expensive, it was too inefficient, and it didn't make sense for the budget that we had set aside for marketing at that time. And it made me realize I'm not the only one facing this. There are millions and millions of small businesses here in the United States that don't have a solution at the top of the funnel. They can no longer advertise in newspapers because newspaper distribution's down. All that consumption's moved to the web. They can no longer advertise in the Yellow Pages. Yellow Pages was a big book we would get with listing of all the businesses, and you would buy an ad slot there, quarter page, and that's how you would choose which company you would call when you had a need. That's no longer being used because everybody's now searching Google and Yelp and a host of other websites. And traditional media like billboards, cable TV are very expensive, not as targeted as some of these small businesses need. For example, let's say they had the budget to buy traditional TV, they would buy across the entire market. But if you're a local restaurant, only people within 4 to 5 miles are going to come visit your location. And so you're spending a lot of money advertising to people that can never come there. So I had no comprehension, I had no understanding of thinking about it from a small business perspective, and saw, hey, there's an opportunity to help these small businesses with consumer consumption going digital. And that's when I started Awarity. Our mission is to make world-class advertising accessible to everyone. We started the business with a focus on targeted top-of-funnel brand awareness because a lot of these businesses we saw were doing things at the middle and bottom of the marketing funnel. They had a promotion strategy, they had social media presence, they had search marketing, they had a website, but they didn't really have a way to reach a large but yet very targeted audience. So we focused there, grew the business from there, and now we're in the process of rolling in other channels over time to where it'll be very easy for a business of any size to come deploy targeted media at a very affordable budget and reach new customers very efficiently.
So there's a lot of good stuff you just shared. And that reminded me that there are 90% of all businesses, as well as in the States and here in Europe, are small businesses. So
Yeah.
if you're talking about helping small businesses with affordable, marketing strategy, and I think you can help exactly millions of businesses, as you mentioned. But to start with, from the beginning, so to say, could you please define or explain marketing to us, or how you explain that to businesses you work with? Because
Yeah.
what I see mostly is that when I say marketing, people think of ads.
Yeah, technically, marketing constitutes the 4 Ps: price, product, placement, and promotion. And so it really is the entirety of how you're reaching consumers. But you're right, a lot of people think marketing and they think purely of the advertising side, which is really the promotion side. And I think it's a very important point. Uh, while people use the words interchangeably, what we're really focused on is the advertising side. And the other components of the marketing strategy are going to complement that or detract from that. So you can take, and we've done this, we can work with two very, very similar businesses in the same field and do largely the same thing for them as an advertiser, but they both will experience very different results based on their overall marketing and advertising strategy. So if business A is not investing a lot, they don't have great pricing, they don't have a great consumer strategy, they don't offer a great customer experience, but the business B does those things. They have a better value proposition, they have some unique features that their customers are looking for. Their pricing strategy is aligned with the value that they provide. We can advertise both the same, but one business is going to experience more success from that advertising than the other. And so the way that I always advise people to think about it is think about your advertising strategy as a way to reach new customers in an efficient manner and stay with them throughout the customer journey. And your marketing strategy as a whole should work for that customer. It should meet their needs and provide a value proposition and accessibility that meets their needs and the way that they shop for your product or service.
The original 4 Ps of the marketing mix, right? But of course, over the time, there are like other further developed Ps, including performance, persistence, patience,
Sure.
activity, etc. So I also want to know before creating an ad strategy for your clients, do you put effort for finding clarity? Because this is what I see often is missing. Because when you were talking about two companies who wanna who want to build an ad, let's say campaign or something, then the results are different. But oftentimes businesses are not sure what they want and what's the goal, and how much effort you put on working prior to the ad campaign.
Yeah, look, it's business marketing, advertising, running of any business. It's an ongoing journey for self-improvement. You have to persistently be trying to improve every day. And the ones you give yourself the best chance to be successful if you're persistent every day. And so the thing that I always remind people when you're thinking about your marketing and advertising is simplicity. Here in the US, data shows we're exposed to 4 to 6,000 ads a day. Yet none of us can remember 4 to 6,000 ads a day. We're only going to remember the ones that speak to us in a way we can understand. So it's addressing a pain point we may have or a need we may have, and it's presenting it in a way that we can, without thinking consciously, subconsciously understand how it's going to help our life. And emotion is a huge part of that. And so I think as you're getting into your advertising messaging design, the key is to think about where you are in the customer journey. If you're building awareness, less is more. Focus on those 1 to 2 features that distinguish you from the competition, that show how you can make your customers' lives better, and then let them find the other pieces of information and other advantages you may present and those other details on their timeline through the rest of the journey, through your social channels, through your website, through being present in various directories. Utilize those to have the library of everything else, because one common mistake is if you want to say everything, people just are not going to be able to pay attention. Imagine you're trying to persuade your best friend to do something new. That's not always easy, even if you're doing it in a conversation. So we're trying to get people to buy a new product. And so a lot of times building that connection just takes time. It also takes consistency and simplicity so people can understand it.
Focus so they can relate to our
Absolutely.
But let's talk about the metrics like sales and revenue, and the ones you suggest to follow maybe, or maybe there are some lesser known ways of measuring this marketing.
Well, I think if you say, let's focus on the advertising side. If you say your goal is to measure advertising, the most common mistake that I see people make is they look for a one-to-one relationship between advertising and sales because we just want an easy button. I turn on advertising, I get sales. And if life were that easy, everybody's business would be growing off the charts. But the truth is, it's more complex than that. First, there's a whole host of factors outside of just advertising that determine success. And so those also have to be fundamentally strong. But the second is it takes persistence in an area none of us are fully comfortable. We're not always sure what resonates with consumers about our brand. And so we always have to be thinking and trying to iterate, but at the same time we can't just keep making change because you have to have a level of consistency. So it's a process that not everybody's ready to embrace. I always tell people, stick with a plan that you feel like even if it's only 75% solid, stick with it. You'll see better results with that consistency than you will from just trying to change every week and not knowing if the change is meeting customer needs. And the way you see that, going back to your question on metrics, the role of advertising is to introduce you to new people. You can look at your website traffic. If you're using Google Analytics or something similar, use your website traffic data as a watermark to say, am I getting new people to our site? How many of those new people are returning to our site? And that's a great indicator on how your marketing and advertising strategy is bringing new people to your doorstep. If you have a retail store, a physical store, a restaurant, keep a count. How many people are coming in? How many transactions are you seeing? How many are from new customers? How many are from returning customers? Those are things that start to show you, are you getting new people in the door? There's a brand we work with, and I won't say too much specifically about them, but the owners always tell me, I need to improve our marketing. I need to improve our marketing. But when you actually look at his data, he's consistently had new customers every month. His problem is he's not retaining the customers he has at a high enough click. So he's losing customers at the same rate he's gaining customers, and he's not driving growth. But if he increases retention and slowed the loss of customers, he would have seen significant growth. So I said advertising and marketing is not your problem. Your problem is retention. And so a lot of times it takes a more complex diagnosis. So when you look at KPIs, you look at your website metrics, new users, returning users, and how that may change as you're adding marketing strategies, and give it a few months. Don't look at it after 1 week. Some products, if you have a nice restaurant, people may only come once a month. So you can't look at data after 1 week and say whether something worked or not. You have to give it 2 or 3 months to see if it's bringing new people in the door. So first look at your website data. Then you should also look at your sales data. Where's the fall off in the journey? How many proposals or pricing or estimates, quotes are you giving people? Then ultimately, how does that flow towards sales? And when you look at everything holistically, that's when you start to have a better sense of how your marketing is moving. Then on the back end, you should also look at what your retention is. How many of those customers are you bringing back for the future?
Because it's very hard to be consistent, and
Yeah.
I also see that businesses, they put a lot of effort into bringing in new traffic without actually analyzing what are the trends in our channel, what is happening, what's not happening. So I agree with you. The way we work with clients, we usually we will see, of course, metrics every month, but we will do some analyze after a quarter or 6 months or even a year. Is usually the goal, because as you said, it takes time to make sure that people know us, like us, and really trust us, and they
Exactly.
bring referrals. I love how you put that. And also, when it comes to aligning, marketing with business goals, you were talking about sales, and I love that because there are too many businesses who doesn't know how to align marketing with business results, and therefore There are a lot of businesses who think of marketing as something that just takes your money, it doesn't bring,
Right.
you know. What about your thoughts here?
What's that?
Now, I just wanted to hear maybe you had some additional thoughts here about that.
No, that, there is a sense of, if you view marketing as an expense, then you're missing an opportunity. It's an investment. A good friend of mine, he has a very senior position in marketing and advertising with one of the large banks here in the US. And I was talking to him the other day and he said, "My advice to businesses is put every available dollar against marketing. That's where you're going to get the best ROI." His point is building your brand, building that awareness. Anytime we have a need, we always think of 1 to 3 brands right away, whether it's buying an appliance for the house or a car, or who we're going to call to repair something, like our air conditioner. We always have 1 to 3 brands we think of first, and that's brand awareness. And so when you invest in that brand awareness, a lot of times you could win before the journey even starts. And so that investment's so important. And if you neglect it and you say, "I'm only going to do what I can measure to have immediate results," you're going to end up doing very little, and your competition is going to build their brand over time. I'll give an example. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen here is with Tesla. Tesla said, "We're not going to pay to advertise." And they've been very proud of the fact that they don't pay to advertise. And granted, they've had a lot of success. But when you think about it, and now some of the struggles that they're having, people in the US still don't fully understand electric vehicles. They're like, "Oh, it doesn't have gas, it doesn't have an engine. Where do you charge it? How do you charge it? Is it convenient?" Not realizing that a marketing message could be 95% of your drives are local. You don't need to drive very far. For 95% of the places you go, for most people, you don't need to go very far. And then at the same time, so it works. You never have to visit a gas station again. You set up a charger in your house, you never have to visit a gas station again, and you save a lot of time. Marketing can showcase those additional values. When you just rely on the consumer to set the narrative and the brand, now you have, where in the US, there's a lot of companies that are attacking electric vehicles and saying all the things they can do because the leader didn't take marketing seriously. It didn't view it as that strategic investment for long-term growth. And now they have to discount. Anytime there's competition, you see they drop their prices 30%. And that's not a sustainable way to grow a brand or business. If they built a brand, they wouldn't have had to do that.
To your thought, you mentioned earlier that, and I agree with you, that when we talk about ads, oftentimes businesses expect, an instant sales out of the ad.
Yes.
So
Yes.
could you provide some other examples besides, the website visits? For the metrics we can use here.
Yeah. So first off, new and returning to website, but then look at other things. There's a brand we work with. One of the things that they looked at is they also looked at how many requests for quotes are we getting? Because they know if they get a certain number of quotes, a certain percentage of them turn into projects, and they could assign a value to quotes. Other businesses may look at downloading white papers or content, how many people are consuming our blogs. Other metrics that we look at sometimes are email opens and clicks. So if somebody engaged with us but they ended up not proceeding with an advertising campaign, over time, we're going to continue to send them emails, and we'll make sure those emails are relevant by looking at open rate and click rate on those emails. So I think when you look at each stage of the funnel, I'll break it down. When you're thinking about awareness, you should look at your cost per impression, your unique reach, and your average frequency. And a lot of digital channels can provide that. And then when you look at that reach, you also want to make sure it's reaching people that fit your ideal customer profile. And you can have an estimate. You could say, I estimate 50% of these people are ideal customers, or 75%, or 25%. And then you can reallocate your budget to the most efficient channels to drive that large scale targeted reach. When you're looking at engagement, the engagement stage of your marketing and advertising strategy, then it's how many people are you bringing back? So if it's emails, opens, and clicks, if it's blog content you're creating to show people how you can help or educate on your product, how much of it's being read? A lot of website analytics can tell you how long are people spending on the page. HubSpot, we use HubSpot as our CRM. It'll tell you, was your email scanned or was it read? And you can look, hey, is the content actually being consumed by people that we're sending it to? You could look at your your social media engagement. How many people are viewing it? How many people are engaging with it? How many people are clicking through to the website? And those are things you can look at each channel and specific KPIs along with those macro level website metrics to give you a better view on what's working and what's not.
Sound overwhelming for some businesses, the ones who haven't worked with metrics so much. So I would say that if someone listening right now and thinking, oh my God, there are so many metrics, then just start with few main KPIs and build that customer journey over the time and make sure you are consistent, right?
Absolutely. And that's something we're working on too. We've heard this feedback, so we are working to see, can we simplify all the metrics for our customers in our dashboard, so you just at a glance have a better sense on what's working and what's not, and give you recommendations based on what the data is showing.
But what I believe that the money is in follow-ups or in referrals in marketing. So because there are already people around you who know, like, and trust you. So how are you working with referrals or referrals in marketing?
No, referrals is we've gained a lot of customers ourselves through referrals. I think you have to, if you want to maximize growth of your business, you have to think about all three channels. One is new customers, that's your advertising. One is referrals, which is, are you delighting your customer so much that they tell other people they should come to you? And that goes beyond advertising. That's your customer service. That's your product, the quality of your product experience, providing a value that's greater than what they're paying in whatever currency they're using. And then if you do that, not only will you get referrals, you'll get repeat business from those customers. So I always break it apart. When I think of marketing and really advertising, it's about the new customers. But then the way that you serve your customers with your product or service, that's what's ultimately going to determine referrals and repeat business. And obviously there's things you have to do to encourage that. Sending emails, perhaps providing incentives for referrals, things of that nature you can certainly do, but that's, to me, a very different strategy than getting somebody new to give you a chance.
It is really helpful, but can you, wrap it up for someone who is, for example, just beginning? What are the first, steps he or she should take when they start with their own company, for example?
If you're starting a business, I think the most important thing when you're starting a business is you have to treat every customer interaction as a focus group. You want to learn from them. Now, you have to ask pointed questions, because if you ask too open-ended a question, you may get insights that are not actionable for your business. So they have to be pointed questions, but you really want to learn about how they perceive your product or service versus the alternative product or services that fill a similar need. And so the number one advice I would give people is start there. And that's why you see a lot of these early businesses, new businesses, their initial customer base comes from their own network. And they'll talk to people they know, or people they know will introduce them to someone they know. That happened with us too. When I started this business, our customers were, for the first several months, either people I knew or that my wife knew, and then maybe their connections, and that was it. But we learned so much from that to say these are the components of our product they really like, these are the components that need to improve, and it helped us focus our energy because our mission needs to be to provide more value to the customer than they're paying. So that's the first and foremost thing I would say. Then as you see those themes, make sure those themes are showcased on your website. So if you have an insight on how your product is a better alternative than the competitors, start to put those things on your website. You know, when I started this business, we built our initial website with Wix. And the reason we chose Wix was I could personally go edit it. If I heard customers use a line, I could go in and just tweak a headline and immediately change our website to reflect that line. In the early days, we were updating the website weekly, it felt like. Then over time, it became monthly. And now we don't update our website more than once or twice a year, only as we're launching new products. I'm talking major changes to our site because we've been honing it for so long.
That's a great advice that we should learn from our audiences. I've never thought about that like that. But please walk us through how you can help businesses today, and you know, who are the businesses that you are working with today?
We work with a wide range of businesses. We work with small businesses. We work with larger companies. We work with franchise groups. We work with sports properties. We work with B2B organizations that are looking to target business decision makers. So, you know, I think if you're interested, if anybody who's looking to reach new customers, visit us at awarity.com, awarity.com. You can request a demo. Somebody on the team will show you the platform, learn a little more about your business, and then if it makes sense, we'll follow up with a proposal on what we can and can't do to reach your target customers and what it will cost and what you should expect in terms of those advertising metrics. So awarity.com, awarity.com.
Next to this episode as well. So before we finish, I always like to ask my guests for an inspiring song and a quote that they live by. So we usually add these to our Spotify music list and to our Pinterest board for inspiring quotes. So what would you like to share with our audience?
Okay, we'll start with the quote, and then we'll go to the song. So the quote that I really like, it came from a former Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army, Eric Shinseki, and it's, if you don't like change, you're gonna like irrelevance even less. If you don't like change, you're gonna like irrelevance even less. And we're in a world that's changing rapidly. And consciously or subconsciously, we like to do the stuff we're good at and the stuff we're comfortable with. We don't always like to put the time and energy towards the things we're not as comfortable with or not as good at. And a lot of times those are the things that help us grow more personally and professionally. And so that's something, you know, I try to live by, you know, and I tell our team, if we can even be 1% better every day, if I can be 1% better today than yesterday in some shape or form, and take that to the next day, over the course of a year, that compounding effect is massive. And over the course of 2 or 3 years, it's transformational. But it's a daily commitment to do something small that's a change that's better than yesterday. So that's the quote. Yeah.
Powerful. That is powerful. Thank you.
Yeah, and read Warren Buffett's article on compounding if you want to know how quickly 1% a day can add up over the course of a year. The song I love is, I'm a big Beatles fan. I love the song Let It Be because in life, so many times we can control what we do, but we can't always control what happens after. There's always a lot of factors that come after it. And so it's a good spiritual reminder that in life we should just focus on what's in our control and try not to worry about what's not in our control. Doesn't mean we can learn from what's not in our control and we can try to adapt to what's not in our control, but we can't obsess over what's not in our control. We have to let that be and focus on the factors we do have control over.
Reminder, and of course, we all love the Beatles. Thank you so much for sharing this inspiration, and of course for the insights you shared here today. It's really have been a pleasure having you on the show.
Now, thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Powerful Marketing Tips. And do not forget to join our Powerful Marketers Hub for more insights, support, and networking opportunities. Until next time, keep pushing forward and marketing smarter, not harder. No one wins alone. Be connected, supported, and inspired inside the Powerful Marketers community.
Find the link in the show notes.